think that whole latent semantic indexing, which kind of runs alongside of what we're talking about now, I've always found it's just better if you focus on writing that good content that you were talking about, and all of that stuff happens naturally. If it even does exist, that's all going to happen naturally just by the nature of writing good articles that are on topic.
That's right. And again, I mean, I did, gosh, it's been over a year ago, I guess, I did a video on LSI that was used in Stompernet and that caused all sorts of foofra on the web. And that was absurd and silly.
Yeah, you're a troublemaker.
Oh, yes, of course. And then that was used in the launch about he caused so much trouble he had to be sidelined, and then Dan Thies took over. It was all very fun, of course, and it was way too highbrow and too advanced. I mean, we had very low engagement on that video. People just kind of glazed over and hit pause, and for good reasons too. But anyway, yeah, LSI. There's a bunch of technical issues around LSI about why it doesn't really work at scale for something like that. Not just about computationally, but about what the algorithm actually does. It needs some more of a focused set, and so it's worked great in things like medicine and law and things of that nature. But you're absolutely right that the so-called write natural content. Now that's not like some SEOs, without naming those names, will say, just write good content for humans and Google will rank you where you belong. Yeah, right, on page 7.
Where the two people click.
Exactly, right. And those are your neighbors or your family. So the real deal is it's a long tail attractor. It's about getting that traffic you didn't even know you needed to go get. And by the way, your ranking doesn't matter. It's the money you make that we use to actually score this game. And so write stuff that is going to actually entice the human to engage and do whatever conversion step you want them to do on your site. And so that's the reason to write that good content. And you're right. If you just write it for humans, well, sure enough, who the heck is searching? Well, humans. And they're probably, unless they're me, they're probably searching with similar language than you are. So that's exactly right. Just write for humans.
And you mentioned that right at the start, which when you were talking about the content being key and the idea, it seems funny to hear it coming from someone in SEO, which is that idea of writing to sell, because it's not the search engines that are going to pull out their dollars and buy your products. It is going to be the users. So you want to write to them. I think that's excellent advice. When we were talking about building links and we were talking about writing the articles, I think articles is definitely one of the sort of best long-standing ways to build links. I'm curious to know if there are other link methods that you use and where you see the best bang for buck in building links.
Yeah, and that's going to I think that, again, content is so good. And you can write content. You can adjust the article and use it in a syndication approach as well. There are other kinds of syndication that work as well as also like press releases and things of that nature. They don't get syndicated as widely as articles that are submitted to the article directories, but those are good. And then we start getting into the specifics of a business. And this is where you can really put it in overdrive, is where, and some of those will be SEO focused, and frankly, some of them will not be. Because again, the way we score this game is money. So SEO is great, but it's not the only pony. So, for example, if you have a Twitter app, well, Twitter. If you have a Facebook app, Facebook. You get where this is going? So, go where those people are. If you're in a niche marketplace, a very niche, not just what we call niche in the internet marketing space, but one that is narrow. For example, products for pilots, particularly something like airline pilots. They only hang out at a relatively small number of places in airports. And so, you go where they are. Now, affiliate marketing, that's another one. I mean, a lot of us in SEO have a kind of a deep connection to affiliate marketing because ultimately what we do is kind of biz-oppy. And so, right, we talk a lot about info products. And, Ed Dale is one, for example. Well, the thing about that, and this is the great irony, selling SEO software, you don't do with SEO. You do it with joint venture partners. I actually rank really crappy for most SEO stuff. And it doesn't matter because it's the who's who of SEOs that are recommending the stuff and telling their clients about it, things like that. That's the deal. Well, the same kind of thing can happen in different markets. In terms of traffic strategies alone, social media is good. Now, the ranking benefits are really not there except a secondary or tertiary thing, which we could talk about if we had time. But that's
yet is that? Do you see that coming down the pipe?
No. I mean, the people who run things like Twitter and whatnot are pretty smart. They know that any social network out there that lasts any period of time becomes something on the order of 80% spam. I mean, that's Dig is a good example where they actually, I don't remember the exact number, but bookmarking sites in general, they found that it's upwards of 3/4 are actually spam accounts, and so then nobody wants to follow down that path if they can help it, and so no following the links is first and foremost in their mind. And so there's not a direct benefit, but now here you go. I mean, unfortunately, you can't stop it in some sense. So this is what happens. So you put a naked link on twitter.com to, davidbinions.com, right? Well, that's great. It's no follow, so you're not getting any help from that. But, wait, it turns out that the mobile version of Twitter is actually fed through the equivalent RSS feed that washes out the actual link and puts in place this, a semantic markup that gets turned back into a link later. So at m.twitter.com, you end up with a naked link, and, m.twitter.com is spidered by Google. Okay. So there's actually a secondary effect even from things like the social sites, which does creating links.
Also, the whole idea, like Google now paying that $15 million to get the live feed in from Twitter and starting to integrate that in search and getting social sort of media really integrated into search with personalized search and all that sort of thing. I think surely Google is, they may not be passing the page rank, but Google without a doubt is following all of these links, and that at some point has to feed back into the algorithm to start to affect results. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think there's several things going on there. One is that Twitter thing. I haven't seen it. I mean, it was live for a few days. And there was a lot of hullabaloo around it, but I haven't actually seen it live lately. And so I'm wondering if they actually did pull the teeth back on that one, because there were some really serious issues in terms of what we call search reputation control around those live things in Twitter. So that's one thing about whether or not they actually leave that kind of social media stuff. That's impossible. You see, there's the problem. It's impossible for the spam team to do anything about it. It is real time. I mean, you could actually see the damn thing scroll, while looking at the search results page. It was JavaScript running that would scroll the results. And so there was no way they could control search quality, which is a problem for them. And then the other things that are going on there are about, what does social media mean to Google, all right? I don't think it means as much as people would like it to mean. Here's the primary tie-in. Google wants to be a news site. When you type in what's the weather in Melbourne, they want to produce that result. They don't want to produce weather.com. And so, and this, we've all done this. They say, oh gosh, there's a, tornado in Atlanta. And we go, because we're trained to, we go type into Google, tornadoes in Atlanta. Well, there's no search result yet. The tornado will be gone before Google gets around to even indexing the page, right? Well, they want to be your news site because there's a lot of traffic there. And so this whole thing about making caffeine really fast and the high speed indexing that they're doing, particularly on real news sites, that's about a traffic model, which ultimately ties to their revenue model. And it's not about wanting to, quote, be the social avenue. So I think that we're mixing up some things there. The social stuff they know is highly spammy. And so how much of that they're going to actually use as signal in their algorithm? Well, gosh, they're dipping into the most polluted well they know of.